Welcome to another episode of Real Life Survivor Stories, a talk show about real life, real people, and real stories. And if you're new and you're just tuning in, Real Life Survivor is a nonprofit organization. And what makes us unique is that we're an organization for every cause, every situation, and every circumstance. So no one ever has to feel alone or suffer in silence. We share stories on every platform. And here we give you, the viewers, a voice. And I am so excited to have in the studio with us today, Lisa. Thank you so much for being here today. Your story is absolutely amazing. We have sat in a room before and shared your amazing story. And I'm so glad that you're here today. I really am.
Thank you.
You're so welcome.
Thank you.
Now, you, to start off, you live here locally in Fredericton?
Yep.
Yeah.
Born here, grew up here.
You grew up here. Now, how long have you lived here?
50 plus years.
Wow, amazing. Just like me.
Love Fredericton.
Awesome. Now, you have an amazing story that you shared with me, and that really pulled at my heartstrings. And I'm so glad you're in the studio with us today.
Thank you.
You're so welcome.
Thank you.
I really appreciate you, and I'm so proud of how far you've come. And I know this is not easy when you share your story. Each and every one of us have a story that we walk with, and the hardest thing is to open up and share that story because we're so afraid of judgment. And you know, Lisa, it took a little while for you to come aboard, and that's why I really want to make note of that, because I really appreciate you so much. Now,
Thanks.
Again, with that said, we did your monthly poster, and you have an amazing story. Now, you are a real life survivor of a few things, and I would love for you to share that with us today.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I'll let you start that.
I am a survivor of childhood molestation and adult rape. So my story both begins at the age of 8 and begins at the age of 18.
Right.
I had gone to a house party at the age of 18. And I talk kind of in reverse because from the age of 8, when I was molested, to the age of 18, when I was raped by someone I did not know, there was a span of 10 years when no one but I knew, and my attacker at the age of 8. At the age of 8, he had threatened to hurt my parents and my sisters, my family, and told me that if I told anyone, that the repercussions would be to hurt my family.
I'm so sorry.
And
I really am.
So for 10 years, I spent protecting, or what I believed was to protect my family. Anything he did or would do to me seemed minor in comparison at the age of 8.
Right.
To what he would do to them. So at 18, I had kind of put those things aside. And I had made some friends in university. I was going to UNB.
Right.
And I decided that I felt comfortable with these friends enough. I had spent quite some time with them, and I went to spend the night at their house to go to a house party.
Right.
And I'd worked all day. My best friend had dropped me off, and he said, if you need anything, I'll be back and check in on you.
Mm-hmm.
And I got dropped off. I went in, and I was supposed to spend the night with these friends. And I went to bed early because I was tired. I'd worked all day.
Right.
And I was awoken in the middle of the night with someone who was attacking me, and without going into graphic detail, because I understand that some people are not comfortable hearing about that. I'm always willing to talk to someone who needs to hear anything.
Yes, if you feel comfortable sharing, what had gone on, you can feel free to do so. It will help the viewers that are watching, but just do it through as far as you're comfortable.
Okay. I've spent many years not saying it out loud,
Right.
what actually happened. When I woke up and he was attacking me and I couldn't get away, I screamed and begged for help. And the adults who were there
Right.
didn't choose to help. They felt as though protecting their household was more important than protecting me.
Okay.
So as much as I screamed and hollered and begged for help, what started out as a nice night with friends turned into my worst nightmare. And when I blacked out, I kind of went into, I guess, protection mode. And at that point, I don't know that I recall a whole lot of the after. I remember everything up to when I got away from him.
Right.
But after that, everything became very fuzzy. And with good reason, my mind and my heart had gone back to a place where it all started. And I was the only one who knew.
Right. Now,
Other than my previous attacker.
right. Now, you mentioned when you were 8 years old, this had happened as well. So that basically took you back to your childhood.
And that's where I stayed for a
Okay.
while.
Right.
Thank goodness my friend showed up. The next thing I remember, I was at the police station. I don't honestly, I'd like to say I recalled the point of sitting there begging for help, and then the next thing I recall being at the police station and my parents there with this horrible look on their face
Mm-hmm.
of terror,
Right.
and me thinking, oh no, they're hurt, something happened to them.
Right.
And not realizing that something had happened to me.
Okay.
So the world stopped. And I was that 8-year-old girl again who was looking at the face of what had destroyed my childhood.
Right.
And I was so blessed to have amazing parents. I had sisters. My sisters, I love them so much. My parents, who just, no one could ask for more incredible family, upbringing, everything. But yet, the silence that sat inside my heart and my brain for so long, the silence was deafening. And it was as though I was that little girl again, and I was 18. And as I spoke to the police, they were confused because I was not talking as though what had just happened, but as though what had happened when I was a little girl.
Okay.
So I understand they were confused. At that point, my mom had called, I think it was my mom, had called the Rape Crisis Center. And with their support, and thanks to the police
Mhm.
And everything that kind of happened, they were able to figure out what I was talking about. I had a bit of a breakdown, had a bit of a quiet time in my world because everything just kind of wasn't happening in sequence. Everything was very, you, for lack of a better term, nervous breakdown or whatever you want to call it.
Okay.
I blocked out a lot of things. Thank God I have my mom and dad, because the world just stopped. It stopped for a while. And I then, once I started to think about things, I had my mom and dad,
Right.
because see, my saddest part was that they've always been there for me, always, for everything.
Mhm.
And to look at them because they blame themselves.
Okay.
And I love my parents so.
I know you do, and they're amazing. And I guess we kind of hold on to what we have gone through, and it's really hard to process it because it's such a traumatic time in our lives, basically. And we feel like, it was our fault, right? Do you feel like it was your fault?
I thought I let them down.
And people around you, you might get some criticism, which you said you had some criticism, like maybe you brought that on, kind of thing. You get all this kind of hate kind of towards you. Now it's your fault. Like you must have been doing something wrong. Maybe it's the way you dressed, right? You might get some judgment.
Don't feel sorry for me. That's what I keep saying. And two, is that that's not why I'm telling my story. I want people to understand. I had amazing parents. I had a great upbringing.
Right.
I have beautiful sisters. I have so much. Yes,
you do, but life happens, and it's out of our control, basically, and we can't plan our everyday. So like I say, for the viewers watching, there's a lot of people that are going through that have been raped or attacked in some way. And what do you do with that? You kind of lose your voice because now there's judgment that's being brought to you. In some cases, not in all cases, but in some. And in your case, you had to basically suffer in silence and not speak out.
There's such a stigma too. And this is the other thing, is growing up, I say our, because I know we're approximately, in the same generation. In that generation, that I guess there was the perception that if you don't talk about stuff like that.
Exactly.
And even now.
Yes.
And I know that some people believe that you shouldn't talk about these things. Or that
some people
get over it.
Right.
Or
but not all people.
Exactly. And yes, it might be hard for people to hear.
Mm-hmm.
But if I don't talk about it and the next person doesn't talk about it and no one talks about it, then we're stuck in the dark ages. We're stuck in a point where it's not okay to talk to people anymore, and it's not okay when you're hurting to speak out, and it's not you have to be okay with that.
Exactly.
And if we don't tell our stories, even if they're painful, I don't want to live that pain anymore. It affects every facet of your life, whether good or bad. For me, it was you keep your circle small, you become introverted, you are a bit aloof with some people, and there was always that, never with my parents, and of course, because they didn't know. I think a lot of things become very apparent when it all came out. My mannerisms about certain things or being around certain people. But how on earth would they have ever known? I mean, let's face, it's not that I was a master manipulator child and, I convinced them that nothing was wrong. But kids are weird. And sometimes I think in terms of their behaviors, every kid is different. Every child has, those quirks. And so for me, I was just, and I was still a very happy-go-lucky, but I had great parents. I had a great family life.
I understand.
Yes. So you don't necessarily know, and this is to the parents out there.
Yes.
You don't necessarily know if something bad is happening with your child. Mm-hmm. You won't know. I had fantastic parents. I had very interactive parents.
Right.
But at the same time, there would have been no way. I made sure that there was no way they would know because I had to protect them.
Right.
I was their little girl, and I then became what I thought I was protecting everyone in my family.
Mm-hmm.
But
I just want to mention that
you can't do that.
Exactly. But the thing is too, you had mentioned about how, there's children out there that are quirky and they're kind of like, they act up, but those children become adults. Yeah. And if you, do not go for help or tell your parents, which,
I'm an advocate for speaking out.
Right.
Absolutely. I know after having gone through it, had I spoken, I would have been listened to. Now, that's not to say I also had the ladies from the Rape Crisis Center at the time. We were, there are so many places to get help, to reach out. Mm-hmm. If it's not at home, because not everyone is blessed as I was. But there are places, people, whether it's a teacher or a church or a counselor or your school, mm-hmm. Your I'm not sure what they call them now. The kids, you have a counselor at school, you have teachers at school. You could talk to an aunt, an uncle, a friend, who is able to talk to their parents. It's not going to be consistent. It's a horrible thing to go through.
Yes.
But there's always someone out there.
Like your everyday. What is that like now after
all that?
After all that, and especially now that after you've been able to talk about it and share it and touch some people. Now you mentioned...
That's like a breath of fresh air.
Right. But you did mention earlier that, you had some judgment as well, even when you speak out. And I had mentioned to you that you're always going to have some type of judgment, no matter what you're doing, good or bad. There's always someone watching that, is going to be critical, but we have to take that as, constructive criticism, I guess, and use that in a positive way, because maybe they're going through something that's similar and they haven't came out with it yet. So they're having a hard time with you coming out with it and judging you for that.
I think for me, what I would ask anyone, whether it's someone who knows me or doesn't know me, mm-hmm. I'm telling my story, mostly because of you, but with that said, with support, and telling your story, your support could be yourself, it could be a friend, it could be a family member, it could be someone like you who I've developed a bond with.
Yes.
But talking about things, and I have to believe that talking about things gives you power.
Absolutely.
Whether it's over the world or whether it's over your own space or your own mind or your own heart, mm-hmm. I have to believe that it's made me a better person.
Right.
That it's given me strength, because had I not lived through and survived what I did, would I be the same person I am today? I don't know. Maybe I still would have been the happy-go-lucky, would probably, give anything for anyone that I know.
Right.
But I don't know that. Would I? Maybe. I choose to believe that it's made me a better person, that it's made me more understanding, more empathetic. I don't want anyone to feel sorry for me. I don't want them to feel sad for me.
Right.
Because in my world and in my heart, my mind, I've moved on. I will never forget. I do have a hard time forgiving.
Yes.
But, and I'm not to say that I ever will. However, I choose to get my power from talking about it.
And that's why you have this platform.
Exactly. And I don't know how to thank you enough for that. I can say it in words and I can continue to speak my truth, my voice, but you've now given me a forum where I can reach people all over the world. Exactly. And if I can save just one little girl who maybe thinks that there is no hope and that they're labeled or that they're gonna just be hurt forever. Not true. Not true.
And they need to hear that. They need to hear you say
there
that.
is hope. There is power in speaking out. There is, and yes, bad things happen. Bad things will always happen.
Exactly.
But at some point, whether it's as a child, whether it's as an adult, whether it's as a teen, there is never a bad time to speak out. There's never the wrong way to bring something up.
Right, but you have to feel safe in that circle.
Exactly.
You have to be with someone you trust.
I will always be there for anyone who maybe if they don't have anybody, then reach out.
Right on.
You can find me through Julie.
Right.
You know, it is truly empowering. It kind of doesn't feel so heavy.
That's right.
Anymore.
That's right. Yeah. At first it's terrifying, you know.
Horrifying.
As I was mentioning earlier, we all have something that we walk with, some type of story. It could be medical, it could be something like Lisa's going through. Yeah. And the hardest thing is to share your story, and then the fear of judgment. They're not going to think you're as cool as you were before you shared your story. Or maybe they're not going to think as much as you as they did before. Yeah. You know, just stuff on that level. We're always worried that people aren't going to like us because of what we went through. But I always say it's just the exact opposite.
It is.
You know,
it is.
They appreciate you and the braveness and the courage for doing so. Because as I say, that's a huge, huge thing that you shared today. And your life, of course, changes. And I want to ask you, where are you today because of it? Yeah.
Well, you know, and it validates. Let me say, it gives validation to your feelings, to your thoughts, to your words, just being able to talk about it.
Right. Now, I want to ask you, you know, for the viewers watching, what inspiration, what message would you give those out there that are watching today that have gone through something similar or maybe the same thing that you've gone through, Lisa?
Regardless of your age or your gender or your ethnicity, there is always someone out there who's going to listen and have faith in you and believe in you. There is strength in speaking out and about talking about things.
Yes.
I truly, truly, truly believe in my heart of hearts that by talking about things, you can change your world and possibly others. Because I have learned that by keeping quiet, you protect no one, and that includes yourself. Mm-hmm. Because you don't deserve the pain that you endure by holding on to things simply because of any reason. Just because someone else says it's not okay to talk about it, you have to do what you feel is best for yourself.
Right. And you have to understand too, as well, is those people say those things to you that it's not okay to talk about because they were told growing up it's not okay to talk about stuff like that. It's not exactly. Now, every month we have a real life survivor poster that comes out. This is Lisa's poster. This was done in June. You're just empowering everybody that's watching, and they feel your story. So I want to, again, thank you for coming on the show today. Thank you for being here and talking about your amazing story.
Thank you.
Thank you. I want to thank you guys for watching today. And if there's someone out there that would like to share their real life survivor story with us, you can reach out to me on Facebook under Julie Comeau, and also on my fan page, Real Life Survivor. And remember, no matter the struggle, no matter the challenge, no matter the obstacle, never give up. We'll see you back here next time with another real life survivor story.